Donald Trump just brought back segregation.
I've been in Spokane for 39 years from New Jersey. I've never been involved in politics before, but this is getting really scary.
That's the news that is all over right now. And a lot of people are reacting on it. Black people are reacting. White people too are reacting. And MAGA are reacting on it too.
Well, it's official. Segregation is now back on the table for the American government, and we have Donald Trump to thank for it. You heard me right. Thanks to Donald Trump, segregation is now no longer banned in the federal government.
It's time to speak up. They're rolling back segregation.
This government has lost its fucking mind.
Our black countrymen have done their time at the front of the lines, and it is our turn. It is our turn to face the water hoses and to face the dogs and to face the tear gas, because we have let this happen. Not on my watch. Not while there is breath in me will we go back. Is anybody out there with me?
And by the way, Jane Elliott warned us of Donald Trump back then. Because when President Obama was in power, was the president for all of us. But now, Donald Trump is saying, want to make America great again. Jane Elliott said, this is making America racist again. And we were warned on and on about Trump being super racist and white supremacist. And I think the MAGA supporters didn't hear that. And the people who voted for him, people of color, some of them, they didn't hear that part, maybe.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks because they're wrong. You can teach an old dog new tricks. You can teach people to give up the myth of racism. Mr. Obama was the president of all of us. He wasn't just the president of black people. He was the president of all of us. The man who's there now is and claims to be the president of the people who look like him. When he says, make America great again, what he's really saying is, make America hate again. You need to realize that it is not the intent of white people to let this situation change in favor of anyone but themselves.
I don't know if MAGA are happy with what they voted in. I don't know. I'm not really sure if MAGA supporters are really happy and they are believing in Donald Trump executing all these orders, ending DEI. Segregation was abolished in 1965. Civil Rights Act in 1965 or 1964 is where it ended in the USA. And it went on in South Africa. Again, personally, as I know, yes, segregation may ended, but it never ended that much because I believe some people were still practicing it indirectly, but not openly. In today's video, I just want to see the reaction of white people, okay? The reaction of white people or MAGA supporters on this issue of segregation. Because, oh man, let's dig down in the video. Let's see the reaction. I want to see if white people are supporting it because, so I will play videos for you where some warnings about Donald Trump, him being super racist, and I want to see the reaction of white people, and then we'll come back again and talk, okay? Peace.
Barack Obama's warning about Donald Trump.
And most of all, Donald Trump wants us to think that this country is hopelessly divided between us and them, between the real Americans, who of course support him, and the outsiders who don't. And he wants you to think that you'll be richer and safer if you will just give him the power to put those other people back in their place. It is one of the oldest tricks in politics from a guy whose act has, let's face it, gotten pretty stale. We do not need 4 more years of bluster and bumbling and chaos. We have seen that movie before, and we all know that the sequel is usually worse.
Mr. Trump is a racist. The country has seen Mr. Trump court white supremacists and bigots. You have heard him call poorer countries shitholes. In private, he is even worse. He once asked me if I could name a country run by a black person that wasn't a shithole. This was when Barack Obama was president of the United States. And while we were once driving through a struggling neighborhood in Chicago, he commented that only black people could live that way. And he told me that black people would never vote for him because they were too stupid. And yet, I continued to work for him.
This government has lost its fucking mind. The new outlines for government contracts have removed the civil rights inclusions. That means that they have taken out the provisions that forbid people signing these contracts from having segregated waiting rooms, I assume restrooms, definitely water fountains. So Donald Trump is trying to put Jim Crow back into force. Luckily, there are state laws that preclude them enforcing this, so it is symbolic, but what a horrible symbol. Honestly, I wonder if their sheets come with the holes already cut out.
Oh my God. The administration is rolling back segregation. So what does that look like? Are we going back to black bathrooms, white bathrooms, black water fountains, white water fountains? Who else of color gets impacted by this? What? Like I almost... What do I say? What do you say? Rolling back a segregation ban. Like, what is happening? I know what's happening. What's been happening since January? What's been happening? This is America. This is America. They're rolling back the segregation ban. I can't, like, my head can't even. How far are they gonna go with it? Is it, I mean, with this administration, I mean, it could be anything. Is it gonna be, hey, you're half white and half Mexican, so, can't use that bathroom. Well, let me tell you, that would be my grandchildren, and that would really, what are you gonna do when it happens?
Y'all, we need to talk because the Trump schmatzy administration just banned segregation in all federal contracts. You know, segregation like separate bathrooms, Jim Crow 2.0 bullshit. By the way, a black man just delivered my freaking UPS mail. You all are fucking unhinged with this bullshit. And to be clear, this is not about policy change. This is not about saving money. This is a message, a big, loud dog whistle to black and brown people trying to instill psychological warfare, a message that they are not safe. And it is meant to make people feel small and afraid. And white folk, this message is for you. Y'all need to call this out, not just online, but at work, at school, at the dinner table. This ain't just politics, this is real life. If you stay quiet, you're part of the problem. Speak up, shut it down, because separate does not mean equal. It was never equal, and we are not going back. Take action. You want to do something? Read a fucking book. Better yet, support black businesses. By the way, ladies,
They know some really great shit. Somebody find this company. I bought it at a Pride festival. It's freaking amazing. And when it's empty, I will buy more. Show up for your black and brown neighbors. This is the only way we're gonna win from these schmazzies. This is absolute, utter bullshit. For the love of God, share this post. Share it everywhere.
Some big news right now. Segregated facilities are no longer explicitly banned in federal contracts, according to latest NPR reporting.
So when people ask me, is it really that big of a deal? Abso-fucking-lutely. If you voted for him, you voted for this. This affects my family. So yes, it's personal.
Hey, friend, this is exactly right. This is exactly why I said it is we, the white people, who have to be at the front of the lines this time. It is we that have to go out and fight this battle. And you guys don't need to come into the street, because we know this is calculated to get you out there. We know, just like when they said they were going to pardon the man that stood on Mr. Floyd, that was intentionally calculated to get you out, because they want to unalive whole populations of people. And you and I both know you are very high on that list. I know you don't know me, and I know you have no reason to trust me, but I have children who look more like you than they look like me. So I have skin in the game. And last week, I was in D.C. with my biracial daughter and her very dark-skinned boyfriend. And when I went out and marched and argued with people and went to Congress and did all of the things that I could do there, I made them stay back. I made them stay back at the hotel, because history shows that I will be treated differently than they will. And it's not that we all don't have a part to do in this. It's just that our roles are different, and you've got to stay home, because it's absolutely what they want, is to get you into the streets. But that doesn't mean there aren't things you can do. You know, if you are a person of faith, then you know that this battle is not just flesh and blood, but powers and principalities, and there's a spiritual realm thing going on. Man, you can do some of the most important fighting from your home, and that is in the spiritual realm. That there are other things, you know, knowing that we know that you have to stay home, and you know that we have to go out. This is how I hope our future will be different, because we now can show you there are some of us who are not like the rest. There are some of us who believe that a person should be judged on the content of their character and not the color of their skin. That great dream is a dream for me too, for my children and for yours. But please stay home. Please don't come out in the streets. This one's on us, and we got you.
It's time to speak up. They're rolling back segregation. They are rolling back segregation. It is now no longer illegal to require separate facilities for people of different races. It is no longer illegal to say, here's the white water fountain and here's the colored water fountain. To be clear, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is still in place and has not been disbanded. But we know what their goal is. There is always step one in a process, and we absolutely know what their goal is. They are rolling back segregation. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Because this time, white people, we are the ones that are going to be on the front crossing that bridge. Do you hear me? We are the ones that are going to stand in the streets. Our black countrymen have done their time at the front of the lines, and it is our turn. It is our turn to face the water hoses and to face the dogs and to face the tear gas, because we have let this happen. Not on my watch. Not while there is breath in me will we go back. Is anybody out there with me?
You can't continue to let this go on. I can't continue to let this go on. We can't continue to let this go on. We cannot continue to walk around with our eyes shut and our ears closed. Okay? What is it going to take? We have come way too far to have society be set back 75 years. 75 years. What are we doing with these these executional or these executive orders removing policies that allow for segregation? What are we doing? Oh, yes, it's government contractors. You know who those government contractors are? SpaceX, Tesla, Amazon, probably. It's all a bunch of smoke and mirrors and all these MAGA folks falling for the okie doke. It has to stop. And in the latest news, guess who's overseeing the housing board? Oh yeah, Musk. Musk, along with his buddies, I think it's Plute, the head of Plute Homes. And now they're all buying up a bunch of stock because it's like $6 a pop. They're taking everything. They're taking everything. When in history have we had a president incite this amount of fear among so much of the country? I can't recall it in my lifetime. Yeah, Dems and Republicans have never really gotten along. Obviously, they're on different sides of the aisle. But society's divided. And for the people that continue to say it's just the Democrats who hate the Republicans and they don't want to see it's a bunch of bullshit. It's a bunch of brainwashed bullshit. And it's going to take some serious shit to go down for them to open their eyes. The thing I love about this TikTok platform is that we can continue to share and talk and communicate with each other on the things that are going on so that we can continue to create awareness. You may not want to hear it. I get it. But you need to be aware. Because I can tell you right now, if you search Republicans that regret their vote, you're going to see hundreds of thousands of videos. Check it out.
Hey guys, this message is for MAGA. MAGA, you know, we've spent 10 years calling you a bunch of racist Yahtzees. And you said that that was unfair and that Donald Trump wasn't a racist and the Republican Party wasn't racist. And that over the last 2 years, you've talked about the fact that Project 2025 was not a real thing and that Trump would never endorse it. Now, mind you, in the last month and a half, 2 months since he's become president, we've seen him not only endorse Project 2025, but also implement a good portion of it, right? But this is about the racism aspect. You know, we've called you this, we've called Donald Trump this. We have tons of evidence that we've procured and explained and shown that, in fact, prove that Donald Trump is a racist. Now, the Donald Trump Yahtzee regime has decided to take out any protections for segregation from government contracts. That's the first step of making sure black people drink from separate water fountains. That's the first step in making sure they don't eat at our restaurants. And this isn't just going to be for black people, guys. This is going to be for trans people, for gay people. It's going to extend to women in the workplace. It's going to extend to all different races that are not white people. Yep. That's what's going to happen. So now, MAGA, that is what's going on in the public eye, and we know it. Just fucking say the words. We are MAGA, and we are racists.
Okay, so segregated facilities are no longer explicitly banned. Let's get ahead of this. Let's make a safe space for everybody. No MAGA. There's the drinking fountain for MAGA. There's the portion of the restaurant for MAGA. I heard segregation is okay again.
Well, It's official. Segregation is now back on the table for the American government, and we have Donald Trump to thank for it. You heard me right. Thanks to Donald Trump, segregation is now no longer banned in the federal government. More specifically, government contractors are no longer banned from having segregated restaurants, waiting rooms, and drinking fountains.
We have some shocking news. Donald Trump has just effectively legalized segregation for federal contractors by signing an executive order to remove a civil rights era ban on segregated areas like drinking fountains, transportation, and housing. Even though the Civil Rights Act still makes segregation technically illegal, the federal government is ultimately responsible for its enforcement and investigation into any violations, and Trump signing this order is a clear message that the government will not step in. A spokesperson for the General Services Administration was quoted referring to the prior ban on segregation as a, quote, damaging policy of the past administration. Several federal agencies have already begun recognizing these changes, including the Department of Homeland Security and the National Institute of Health, both of which have issued notices advising employees not to consider the prior segregation ban going forward. This is only the latest of Trump's attacks on DEI, but this order goes a step further given the history our country has with segregation.
What's up, everybody? Major retired Richard Ojeda here, and Donald Trump has just removed a federal ban on contractors from having segregated restaurants, waiting rooms, and drinking fountains. Ladies and gentlemen, he's literally bringing segregation back. Where are all of these people in Washington, D.C., these Republicans? Where are they at? Where are you at, Richard Hudson? You've got people of color in your district. I think you need to answer for what we're seeing right now. This is unacceptable. Donald Trump is a racist, and anybody who stands by him and allows him to continue doing what he's doing is just as racist. This is unacceptable. We deserve so much better. Folks, let me tell you something. Vote.
Well, this is breaking news, and this is extremely shocking, and everybody should probably be concerned about this. The Trump administration has now removed an explicit ban on segregated facilities for federal contractors, like waiting rooms, restaurants, and even drinking fountains. Do keep in mind, Trump, in this one executive order, right, revoked executive policies dating as far back as 1965. On equal employment opportunities, environmental actions designed to protect communities of color, and even workforce balancing efforts by federal contractors based on race, gender, and even religion. Do keep in mind the 1965 action aimed to end discriminatory practices in hiring and employment on the part of U.S. government contractors. I mean, the measures that Trump is trying to dismantle literally aim to uplift marginalized groups and obviously address the continued effect of historical and generational inequity. And Trump and his allies are literally defending his actions by saying that his orders aim to remove what they call discrimination against other Americans, and I'm sure you're aware of who those Americans are, and if you aren't, well, let's just say that they look like me. And let's do keep in mind, this is right after Trump chose to invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which he mentioned is being used to deport members of these gangs, but when you realistically think about it, you can't help but to wonder if it'll go much further than that. I mean, we're talking about even U.S. citizens here, people. I've seen ICE attempt to deport members of the Navajo people. How the fuck are you gonna deport Native Americans? How does that work?
In some wild breaking news that I was not expecting on my 2025 bingo card, which, to be honest, maybe I should have, segregation is now legal again in federal facilities. Yeah, I said that. I had to say that in 2025. The Trump administration has rescinded a very long-standing prohibition against segregated facilities. This now means that if a federal building feels like it, they could segregate waiting rooms, restaurants, and drinking fountains, and buses, and things like that. Now, the caveat to this is that the state-level prohibitions do still exist, so you certainly won't see these pop up overnight. This is more of a symbolic move by the Trump administration, but it happened. It happened. Follow for more and I will keep you updated on this nonsense.
Donald Trump erased Jackie Robinson as part of his civil rights purge at the White House, only to bring it back after an outcry. Jackie Robinson, you may recall, is a famous Major League Baseball player who's African American. He was the first black Major League Baseball player, I believe it was 1947, and also served in the U.S. military. Well, there used to be a page about him on the Pentagon website talking about his amazing accomplishments, and Trump had it deleted, because Trump is doing a DEI purge, which is basically the Trump code word for civil rights. This is part of an overall campaign Trump has been doing recently, going after civil rights across the board. He deleted mentions of people of color, women, and Latinos on the Arlington National Cemetery website. Those links were taken down. They deleted the mentions of Tuskegee Airmen from the Air Force training manuals. These are famous African-American pilots during World War II. They were part of the training for the Air Force. Trump had it deleted because, again, DEI, right, civil rights. The Navajo coders, there was pages actually on the Pentagon website talking about the Native Americans who helped us in World War II by basically speaking their native tongue, like Navajo, on the radios, so the Japanese and the Germans in Europe couldn't understand them because they didn't know the Native American languages, and they did amazing work. They helped, they were instrumental in battles across Asia, across Europe. Actually, D-Day landing, the Choctaw, I believe, helped. The Navajo helped us at a number of battles in Asia. They got deleted too by Trump and company, and they even deleted the Enola Gay. We found out. Remember? The airplane that was used to drop the bomb on Japan in World War II, they deleted the mention of the airplane because the name was gay. Now, Jackie Robinson came back. That's great. But guys, this isn't just really childish. It's incredibly dangerous and incredibly offensive that you're actually trying to erase American heroes, American veterans.
How is this not racist? Trump administration ends segregated facilities ban in federal contracts. The Trump administration has announced the federal government will no longer unequivocally prohibit contractors from having segregated restaurants, waiting rooms, and drinking fountains. Explain to me how this is not racist. What fucking country am I living in? What year is this? If you voted for Felon 47 knowing his history of racism, but you declare you're not racist, it just means you're okay with racism.
Hey MAGA, I have a question. When specifically was America great for you? Just a shot in the dark here. Would it happen to be before segregation ended? Now, right now, this is just for federal contracts, which might still get overturned by the courts, but they're telegraphing what they actually want in America. And anybody who says that Trump's not a racist can go eat their own shit, because it's his administration that is doing this. And they're doing this under the guise of trying to get rid of DEI. Now, any type of segregation is explicitly against federal and state laws. But as we keep seeing over and over again, Trump does not give a shit about law. As we have witnessed many times. He's a convicted felon. So it should be no surprise that he's trying to get rid of segregation laws. After all, who's gonna stop him? He's trying to do as much as he can to undo as much of this country as he possibly can. And why would he do this? Because he wants to get even with this country for screwing him over in the 2020 election. And he does not give a sideways shit who it's going to harm to get his revenge. Remember the first time he was in office and he was always having rallies even in non-election years? Notice how he's not really doing that much anymore? It's because he knows what he is doing is unpopular, and he knows what he is doing is going to get him some backlash and probably another, shall we say, overly enthusiastic fan? Because we all know that Jim Bob and Rita Mae were fine with other people losing some services, but now that they're starting to be affected, they're not such big fans. It's only a matter of time before he's coming after gay marriage, he's coming after mixed race marriages, even though this would affect one of his biggest buddies in the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas. So for all you Trump supporters who say that you did not vote for racism, yes you did. And it's not like you weren't repeatedly warned. We could have had a country headed towards progress, but y'all much more prefer living in the past. I do have to ask you though, MAGA, are you happy yet? You got your mass deportations, you got your discrimination towards trans women. You're no longer required to get the jab like that was ever a real thing. But I really want to know, now that you've got all this, has it fixed your life in any way? Are you living better now? Are you able to afford things better now? Has your life improved in any way? Or is it still the same fucking life that you had before the election? And if it is basically the same, can you remind me what you voted for again?
Welcome back. You have heard the reaction of white people, and understand a lot of white people who are here talking about this segregation, they are the one who are not supporting it, because a lot who are supporting it will not come online and talk about it, and that's the one thing I know very well. Segregation is one of the sickest thing I never want to experience. Some white people will love segregation because of this, because you know, it favors them so much, and it's a tool of white supremacists. And as we all, the support of segregation among some white people, particularly in the United States, was historically tied to the combination of social, political, and economic factors, because many white people believed in the idea of racial superiority, seeing black people as inferior. And these beliefs were deeply rooted in historical structures like slavery and colonialism. Now, segregation was viewed by some as a way to maintain the dominance of white people over black people and other racial minorities. So to maintain this dominance and this white supremacy, they came up with this segregation. And I believe a lot of white people, they don't want to do this anymore because it is painful to their heart. They may not tell, but mentally and their feelings is not okay by practicing this. But the rich white people, they want to tell all white people that by doing this is to maintain the supremacy. And a lot of white people have bought this idea. Like as they always say, the poverty in our society is because of this race. And this rhetoric comes from rich white people. So when Donald Trump became a president and took Elon Musk, and we said, yo, now America is being ruled by rich. It's going to be crazy. See what's happening. Because segregation means that they want to do this, economic control. Because segregation helped Segregation helped to maintain an economic system back then that benefited white people. See what happened in South Africa. In South Africa, due to segregation, that's why white people became more powerful. White people owned lands. White people having good jobs. White people were the first priority simply because of segregation that happened in South Africa. So as we see that this is just a way to continue their economic control, because they fear, you know, some white people of this white system, they fear that the people of color are coming up and they are coming in huge. They are coming in more powerful. They fear when a black person becomes super, or when black people become superior, their dominance will end. And they want to control this economic. You know, we are seeing far. And the far we are seeing is that tables are about to turn. And tables turning is that black people gonna come to power. Latinos gonna come up. Asians gonna come up. And white people, or the white system, they fear this. And that's the fear they have. They are scared of the black people. They are scared of the unity of the black people, scared of how black people are coming out, you know. So by keeping black people and other minority in their positions, they need to practice this segregation, okay? Now, white people could dominate the job market and maintain control over labor, often using black people as cheap labor, particularly, you know, in more of the areas like in South Africa. Back then, they used black people as cheap labor. Even when segregation was in America, they used black people as cheap labor. And they were in control of the good jobs. Because when you segregate in America, that means that the top paying companies, hotels, you know, name them, grocery stores, where you want to go and get job, that means that it's owned by white, and white people will be given first priority, and the black people will come in last. That's what they want to bring back. And that's not good. That's not good. And MAGA voters, you are warned. They warned you. Latinos, see what you have brought. Because a lot of voters from Latinos voted for Donald Trump. This is what you brought. And when they say people of color, you are not excluded. You are there. Yeah, this is not issue for black people only. Even Latinos, Mexicans, Cubans, Hispanics, all of you who vote for or voted for Donald Trump or who want to be close to the white people, you are not exceptions. When this thing comes too deep, it will cut across all of us, all of the people of color. And that's why they write there, people of color this way, whites this way. It's crazy, man. So crazy. But I believe a lot of white people are not in support of this. I've seen them reacting, and I believe in some white people who are truly against this issue of segregation, because some have black friends and some are listening to black music. Some are listening, are watching, are supporting black footballers. And if these things is like that, that means that you're not gonna listen to any hip-hop music, the music culture. You're not gonna dance onto it. It's a black thing. Why are you dancing into it? We are segregated. Everyone listen to his or her own music. And that's not the world we want to go in. We are in a different situation. If America is going to fall, it will fall, whether you segregate or you don't segregate. If the prophecy is America to fall, the empire will surely fall. Now, in the era of segregation, it was ingrained in the culture and social structures, especially in the South. People were raised in environments where segregation was normal. Okay? And it was difficult for some to imagine a different social order. The idea of integration threatened the established social order. People thought it was normal, and that's why a lot of white South Africans are going through a lot, because you have heard them, they want to get back there, they want their area back, they want South Africa to be divided so that they can have their own space, simply because it's getting hard to them that they are mingling with black people. I don't know what is wrong with black people. And I have a message to my white friends, brothers and sisters. Like, white was not there. The white narrative was not there. And this thing you are supporting is not for you. It's for the only rich white people. And we only have like 16 rich white people or rich Americans. Okay, we have a lot of rich white people, like the top list of the Forbes, a lot of them now. But few of them are coming from America. And these, like 6 of them. And these are the ones who are controlling the minds of even you, normal white people. So don't fall for these traps. Don't fall for it, because it is harmful for your health. It is harmful for your health as a white person. Don't fall for these issues of or orders of Donald Trump. It's not good for your mental health. As far as you think white supremacist affects black people alone, no, it affects white people too, because you live on with this hate, you live on with this fear. But there is nothing to fear on, and there is nothing to hate. Why? If you sit down as a white person and think, why am I hating black person? And my ancestors are the one who did bad to. You will know that it is pure nonsense. It's not good. So, as I say, white people must sit down and think about what's happening. Think about if Trump orders are good for you. Think about if segregation is good for you. Okay, if it's good for you, then go on. But if you see it is bad for your mental, then leave it. Okay? Now, for many white people, the end of segregation represented the fear of losing their social status and privileges. This segregation is just to give you privileges on, and the economic advantages. The idea of racial integration was seen as a challenge to their own life. Okay? And there was a general fear of the unknown and resistance change. I may say white people, maybe they fear or are scared of black people so bad. For you to put segregation, whites and blacks only, it shows how the fear is between white people and black people. They fear that they will lose the privileges, because black people are made of working hard and making things happen. But white people are made of having privileges, take this money, social issue, or take this money of social issue, health, something, take this money, you will use this end year for groceries, take this money, some privileges that white people get even if they are not working. But for black people, we work hard. Even at your old age, you work hard. So by bringing back segregation or by having these orders around, that makes sure it's just a fear and scare that they're going to lose these privileges and they want the economic advantages. It's not something that is because they can't do it. They can't work on the farms. They can't do labor, these manual jobs. They can't. So by segregating, that means that black people will do these dirty jobs. Okay? That's all I'm trying to think. Now, segregation was also politically advantageous for white elites. And these things for white elites, okay? It helped consolidate political power by keeping African Americans and excluding them from political process, especially in the southern states. This ensured that white politicians could maintain control over the region's political landscape. And it's important to note that not all white people support segregation or supported segregation. Okay? And many of them, especially as the civil rights movement gained momentum, worked hard to challenge and dismantle the system. The civil rights movement in the 1950s, 1960s, was a critical part of the push to end segregation. And now Donald Trump is trying to bring it back. And I believe those white people who never supported it, they are there too. Most of them, they don't support it. So I think it is something that Donald Trump, people say that is having some issues with, maybe mental. I don't know. I'm not the one who is saying that, but I believe it's not something good. And black people are not falling for the bait. We're going to do that one on the other topic. Okay? Until next episode, peace out.